Hi there, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of our Health and Wellness Expo. Today I have the lovely Rebecca Jenkins with us. She wears a number of hats. Hey, Rebecca, how are you going?
Hi, thanks for having me.
That's all right. Oh, it's lovely to have you here. So Rebecca has a number of hats that she wears with a number of different businesses and little ventures going on. So Rebecca, why don't you tell us about a few of those and so we can get to know you, a bit about your backstory in terms of how you've come to be where you are.
Okay, sure. So I suppose if I go right back to the beginning, I'm one of 6 kids.
Wow.
So part of our family was always big on gardening.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of what I do is about, gardening and eating real food and whole food and things like that.
Yep.
And then as I grew up, I went and did a degree in psychology and ended up in HR and literally ended up in HR. And so I do that as a business as well.
Yep.
So I started my business in HR around about 6 years ago, coming up in August. And I brought it over to the Waikato 3 years ago and pretty much had to start all over again because I didn't have the networks or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been called the networking queen quite often, just because I know how to use the networking like we do at Venus or even She Owns It All, places like that. I know how to meet people and get to know people. So part of what I do is I'm really heavily involved in the community.
Yep.
And always have been in the communities that I've lived in. So I'm a chamber exec team member here in Cambridge, and I also run Crop Swap, which is a crop swapping home gardener sort of bring your food and we share it with everybody sort of thing that we do here in Cambridge as well. And I started that 3 years ago when I moved over, because we had an awesome one in Tauranga where I was from. And then I had been sort of playing, like I said, with a business doing gardening. And while I don't want to go around and garden for everybody, it's more about empowering people. And I suppose when I look at all the businesses that I do, it's always been about empowering people to do it themselves, because I don't believe in, doing it for people, because otherwise they just don't learn, and you don't learn how to do it properly.
That's right. It's about a hand up rather than a hand out, isn't it? It's like, helping people to be empowered in their own abilities and in their own knowledge. Yes. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. And so for HR, that's how I've worked my business. And I'm really strong on my values about, people being the centre of what we do, being ethical, because we know that there's lots of employers and HR people, dare I say, that are quite willing to bend the rules and bend their morals and all those sorts of things.
Yep.
And then it's about keeping it simple as well, because the more complicated you make it, the harder it becomes. And New Zealand, dare I say, is one of the most complicated employment law structures in the world. I'm sure there are others that have laws similar to us, like England and Australia. But New Zealand is pretty up there in giving a lot of entitlements and rights to the employee, which is awesome. And believe me, I don't want to knock that for any reason.
Yeah.
But it does mean that for employers, there's a lot more work involved in actually managing a team. And I think as we move into, where we are right now, even there's a lot of things that employers have to keep up to date with, and being able to actually empower people with that information in a true and accurate manner has always been really important to me. And that's how we keep it simple, by just giving them the facts and nothing else. So part of our service there is we developed a subscription model, so that employers can actually come on, and we will pretty much do most things for them, except, actually be on site. We can be on site, but generally employers are pretty good at doing all that sort of stuff. So we've set up a subscription model where you get all the templates, the documents, you get an HR system in the background, you get all your employment agreements, job descriptions, anything else that you need. And we support you through that with a phone line as well that you can call us at any time at no charge.
That's really fantastic. That's really fantastic, Rebecca, because I think that's stuff that's really daunting to people, especially when people are sort of almost accidental business owners, like say a builder that's done well and gone out on his own and then got too much work and so he's taken on subbies or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh yeah, you mate, I'll just pay you and blah, blah, blah. And they don't really understand. But for people like that to have something that they could sign into that could just effectively give them everything that they need to set up a proper contract and all of those sorts of things, and the right words to say in the right way at the right time, they'll be really liberating for a lot of people.
And believe me, half the time you just need someone to bounce the ideas off of how to go about it. And then once you sort of, you've done it a few times generally as an employee, you've had those difficult conversations or whatever it is, and you sort of know what to say, but sometimes it's just a matter of saying it out loud first so that you can actually get it clear in your own head. And so we get that a lot too. We get little odd questions, and I never say that there's a silly question, because believe me, sometimes I don't even know the answers to them. And I have to go away and actually find out for my clients as well. So, we all come across things that we just don't know how to do. And it's better to learn how to do them properly in the first place. And then you won't get yourself into trouble. And there are, bigger fines these days and all those sorts of things that scare people. When in actual fact, those are really, really bad scenarios generally that people are abusing people and workers. So
and I imagine at this time it's a pretty it's a minefield, really. It's just like, well, what do I do with my staff? Like if they say they're in a service industry, what do they do with their staff when they have to shut their doors and they're not allowed to operate? It's like, well, do I make them redundant? Do I just tell my staff I can't pay them, but when I open my doors I want them back? Like, oh my gosh, there's just so many different scenarios and ways and things to think about. I'm super glad that I'm a sole operator within all of my businesses, that I don't have to worry about any of those sorts of things. But just even thinking about it, you kind of go, wow, there's a whole bunch of overwhelm there for people if they don't have the right guidance.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing that people are struggling with even now. They've got the subsidy or they've applied for it or whatever it is to help them through this time. And yet they're still feeling that feeling of overwhelm. And funny enough, I was just on another call earlier and we were talking about, it's all good and fine that your business is continuing, and mine is. I'm really lucky to be in a situation where people need my support and help. And so my business continues. But then I don't have a child at school and I can't focus the same way as everybody else is in the same boat as well. And so it becomes really, at the moment for me, I have to ensure that I look after myself first, first and foremost. So that for me, that's good food, good sleep, and exercise. And we also talk about, having the right mindset through all this, and making sure that you're breathing, using that techniques of breathing correctly so that you can calm your body. And I'm probably the first to raise my hand and say I get really stressed out and I will at people. And we all do that. It's just how we cope. But learning actually how to manage ourselves to be in a position where we can actually be what I call in the green brain, which is where
you just say about that.
Which, a green brain is where you can think logically, you can communicate effectively, and you can reason. And those are all the things that we really need to do at the moment. We need to make some good decisions. We can't do that if we're stressed out and can't sleep and can't eat and do all those other things. So it always comes back to, and I've been saying to my clients even, look after yourself first, then worry about the next thing. We can deal with this.
That's wise words. You wrote an article just recently and posted it up, so we should make sure that we share the link to that article in the comments for people, because Rebecca wrote a really fantastic article just talking about the green brain and the red brain and how we differ in making decisions and reacting to situations subject to whether we are in that green space or the red space. So there's quite a similarity or path that is connecting many of these interviews that I've done through this expo around stress and what it does to us, and whether it's whether it's coming from a stress in terms of in our space that we are creating, or an external stress or an emotional stress, it depends. It all comes from different locations. But if we can identify that it is a stress and that it is pushing us into a red brain situation, and we can recognize that and acknowledge it and say, okay, this is not a good space to make a decision in, and use some techniques, like you say, just calmly breathing, getting ourselves into that calm space, and then tackle the situation in terms of whatever decision needs to be made. I think there'll be a lot better outcomes. So like you say, tell your clients, look after yourself first. Good sleep will deal with this situation the next day, because I think it's really wise words to share with people, and hopefully with the number of times it has come up in varying different ways, that people will start noticing in their own day as they go about their day, having listened to these interviews, that okay, all right, I'm in this space right now, and they'll start noticing that their bodies are in different spaces at different times, and how they're reacting to situations or what they're thinking about. And if that's what it does, and it starts helping people to realize and to take stock and go, actually, no, let's just stop and breathe, then that's awesome. It's such a great outcome.
Oh, I agree. And I think that overall that makes you a better business owner as well, because those decisions that we make right now, whether it's what we're going to do when we get out of it or while we're in it, either way, we have to make those decisions, and they have to be the right ones for us and our business. So without being able to do that, you just can't. I know what it's like when you've been so stressed out that you actually can't think, and you just want to shut down, hide in a corner, and just tell the world to buzz off. So we don't want to be there.
Yeah, I can empathize with you that too. It's like there's this whole noise it's just like this vibration around your head that it's just like, it just can't, like, no, it's just all too much. And you have to acknowledge that and move out of that space and give yourself some time to move out of that. Yeah. So how are your clients coping within your at the moment? Are you doing crisis calls? Are they in panic situations, or are you finding that they're coming to you in a reasoned space and going, okay, this is what we think we have to do, and you're just being the voice of reason, confirming that to them or giving them a little bit of direction? How are the majority of them coping?
I think initially, like all of us, we were just blown away that this was actually happening in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I suppose we've had three things in the last 12 months that have really blown us away as a nation. We've had the Christchurch massacre, and then we've had White Island, and then this on top of it. So I think people are reeling, and they're concerned about their business, their livelihoods. And I think there will be a lot of people who will actually lose their businesses, and that's the sad reality of it.
Yeah.
Most of my clients have sort of got a few throughout, different sectors, through a number of industries, building and agriculture, retail, and also just things, general businesses, a building company and things like that. So they're definitely from all different sorts of industries from that perspective. And they're all very positive, to be honest.
That's good.
At the moment, yes, they're definitely hunkering down and surviving the best that they can. Most of them, I've got a few that are essential, classed as essential businesses, especially in agriculture, where we want the dairy cows to continue bringing our milk, or making our milk, I should say, not bringing it, and all those sorts of things. So there's definitely issues. There's still just the normal issues going on too. Staff not doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing, 90-day trials coming up to an end, and how we manage those, and performance management, and staff that aren't actually doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. And I think some of that we have to appreciate, that everybody is now in a bubble, but we also have to understand that they can't be expected always to do 8 hours in a row, or like they would at work, because that focus is different. In the home environment, as you probably know too, it's really easy to get sidetracked and have other things. And when you've got children, and then you're sort of trying to manage children, work, and phone calls and emails, and and all those sorts of juggling acts that we're all currently doing. It comes back to, you know, what's the most important, what's your strategy coming out of this. You know, it's only 4 weeks, it's not a long time. We're talking a very minute space of time really over the whole lifetime that you've got.
Exactly.
So, you know, yeah, exactly. And so it's more for me, and I've always been really positive about this whole COVID-19 thing. I've always seen it as a positive thing. It's been a way of really reassessing what we're doing and how we're doing it well, whether we are doing it well even, and what changes we can make to actually pivot and adapt faster than we've ever done before.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I see that in a lot of businesses. You know, a lot of businesses are working from home now, whereas it's something that I've always done. So it's actually nothing new to me. And I'm sure you're the same too. In your business. So it's nothing new. I suppose the difference for us is that lack of socialness, or that lack of socialization that we're used to. And so we're finding different ways of doing that now, like you and I doing what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And getting used to the minion workers that are around as well.
And shoot past you and you're like,
what was that? Yep. So,
yeah, I've had a few today, and they've just, you know, Finn's kind of gone in and gone where he can. So yeah, today I was like, no, you've got to stay in your room. So you should be fine.
No, that's fantastic.
Hey, mummy.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's sort of your Livewire HR business.
Yeah.
So that's how
So
that's
my
operating. So what about the
space.
what about the food swap option? I'm guessing that can't continue at the moment, or are you still?
No, so our crop swap has ended at this point in time. We're not doing it for the month of. We didn't do it for March or April.
Yeah.
So I think we got in March, but we missed April. So
okay.
Yeah, which is a bit of a bummer because gardens are still growing and people have still got food that's in excess. And we have an amazing group of community spirited people that come there each month to share. And of course, at the moment, April being one of the busiest sort of autumn months with fruit and veg. So you always get a nice bounty of pears or apples or, you know,
that's
cabbages and collies and things like that, which are pretty cool to be able to share with. And that's always empowered. Well, for me, it's that sharing and that caring that we have. It's really important.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sort of trying to bring into all my other businesses as well. So HR, we got really clear on what our values were. And they've sort of filtered through into everything that I do now. So for me, it's always been about people. I always like, you know, making sure people are well cared for, and all those sorts of things, and being there and trying as best as I can to be part of anything that's important to me as well within the community. And then making sure that, you know, even the vulnerable have been treated well. So so all our vegetables that are left over from our crop swap are then actually passed into the community gardens to share out as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, so it's just another way of keeping that cycle open so that people can actually get access to or whatever they need.
So. And fresh vegetables, you know, like, you know, for wellness, you know, getting fresh vegetables, homegrown, you know, well cared for, you know,
free.
All that stuff. That stuff's really important right now. Looking after our wellness, you know, part of that is actually some good nutrition.
Absolutely, I agree.
Just because we are staying at home doesn't mean that we have to eat packet pasta and, you know, go to processed foods. There's still an abundance of vegetables. Like you said, vegetables keep growing, chickens keep laying eggs, cows still keep creating milk, you know, like there's still all of those.
They're not on the same timeline as us.
No, not at all. Not at all. The pears still ripen on the trees, as do the apples. And, you know, the birds can only eat so many. So we need to make sure we get our share first. So otherwise the birds will be very plump this winter.
Well, that's when you have to get into some preserving, which is things that I do as well. So that food doesn't go to waste as well. So for me, you know, just whatever I grow in my garden, I also want to make sure that I either share it if I can, or otherwise I preserve it. So this year we had an abundance of chilies, so I've made sweet chili sauce.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and we've had our first season of peaches from our peach tree.
Oh,
So we
nice.
bottled a whole 2 jars
A whole
of black
tutor.
boy peaches.
Oh, they're my
It's only
parents'
its
favourite.
first
They
seasons.
love black boy peaches. Absolutely love
Oh,
them.
it's so good. So
Yeah.
I grew that one from scratch, from a
Oh, wow.
seed.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so those are all the things that I do that I'm passionate about too,
Yeah.
is knowing where your food comes from,
Yeah.
knowing how it's growing,
Yeah.
and what's in it. And I think if we can sort of look at the way that we look at food now, you know, it's all, like you said, packet processed, McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, whatever it is, and look at it from a perspective of what's actually in our food, and how we eat it as well. Because you've got to realize that all the things that we do in order to get to a point where we're sitting down and eating a meal is so fast paced these days that we don't actually appreciate or realize the mechanical mechanisms, that's the word I'm looking for, that our body actually needs to be able to get to that point as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
even just the smell of food cooking starts your saliva from working properly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that gets your gut ready to actually take food in.
Mm.
And then, of course, whatever you're putting in there, you know, if it's sprayed or got lots of chemicals on it, you know, what's that doing to us long term as well?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
you know, all of that is you know, 50 years ago, let's just say 50 to 60 years ago,
That's
we
it.
didn't have all that issue around sprays because people didn't do it. So it's, you know, it's an almost, you know, we're in the middle of that generation really, where now we're sort of starting to see what the outcomes of all those sprays are doing to us and to our children and all the our, you know, our parents behind us. And we're starting to realize, oh, actually that's not safe, that's not what we want for our life.
And that's where we
and I
have to
think we're
start
coming
making
back,
conscious changes, don't we? Yeah.
yeah, and I think we're coming back to what's actually important. You
Yes.
know, we're really important, you know, our families are really important.
Yeah.
We're, you know, teaching our children how to cook and those life skills, you know. You know, I remember my mum and dad saying at one point that they had to teach my 27-year-old cousin, who was much older than me, how to cook an egg, because her parents had gone away and never taught her actually how to cook. So, you know, all these things that you sort of take for granted.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm one of 6 kids, so we had to learn how to cook. We had to learn how to cook.
You had no choice.
You know, we had to do all these things. And then I sort of look at my son, who's, you know, a single child, although I've got stepchildren as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said to my partner the other day, I said, if I died, I reckon he'd survive even at 7. You know, I think he would find a way, he would figure it out. Because he's very independent, and I've made sure that he is that way.
Yeah.
So don't believe in not giving those skills to our kids as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is a perfect time, you know, like I think, you know, the universe has gifted us this, you know, it's like, this is a really lovely time to actually reset, to take the time. Someone made a comment to my husband the other day about, oh my gosh, I've never cooked so many meals in a row before, you know, and it's just, and it made us reflect and go, actually, you know what, we don't go out for dinner. Well, you know, we don't.
And that's what we do too. We're the same.
So I actually haven't noticed a real difference for us, because we do cook at home. You know, takeaways for us, or an easy meal is, which we'll do tonight because I need to actually go and do the groceries. But we're going to have pizzas tonight, and it's just like, and our kid, well, one of our kids especially loves pizza, but homemade pizza. You know, like, it's like,
we're the same.
I don't want pizza out. No, I want pizza made at home. You know, because that's what we've always done. And that could well be an outcome of having, you know, 3 children in 22 months and living abroad with no family around to offload them to be able to go out. But equally, it's just what we know. And so it hasn't actually been a big difference for us in terms of the cooking of meals and all of those sorts of things. But I know there's a huge difference for some people that rely on Uber Eats and all of these sorts of things, because they come home from every day at work and it's like, I haven't got anything for dinner, so they just dial it in. But then
there's so many other things out there these days, you know, like we've got My Food Bag and HelloFresh and all those sorts of things that will actually give you a decent amount of vegetables. I think My Food Bag's a little bit better, in all honesty, than HelloFresh. But, you know, there are things out there that make life easier, but you can also learn new skills from it, because it's all set out for you. It's all there. You don't have to think too hard. And I think
Yeah.
it's that thinking often at the end of the day, oh my God, what are we having for dinner?
Yes.
That's always the hardest part.
Yes.
And I know that if I haven't planned, and I plan a month in advance of what all our meals are,
Oh, you're
just,
good.
well, it's easy to do 1 month and sit there for half an hour to do it than
Yeah.
it is to think every night for 15, 20 minutes stressing over what you're going to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
generally
what
do
I
a
found
week.
with even the kids, exactly. Even if it's a week, I just do 4
Mm.
weeks because it's easier.
Yeah.
But even our 22-year-old who still lives at home, she comes in and she goes, oh, we're having risotto tonight. Oh, I could cook that, And so she'll actually sometimes cook a meal as well
That's
that she
pretty
feels that she
fantastic.
can do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's lots
That's
of,
pretty cool.
lots of bonuses, I suppose,
Yeah.
from eating at home. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, is it Quarter Acre Kitchen? Is that your handle?
Yeah,
Or how
that's my
you
handle.
share,
Yep.
is your handle about how you share about your gardening and all of those different things? So what's the sort of obviously values of sharing and helping and empowering people? So is it that you're sharing knowledge about how to garden or what to garden or when or all of it together? What sort of
A little bit of everything, just whatever comes up.
Yep.
I often have people that say, oh, we just love seeing your garden,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I share pictures of my garden or what I've planted or anything
Yeah.
like that. I also
Yeah.
tell them about what I've done in the weekend. So
Yeah.
if I've spent a day in the garden, I've gone, I've weeded, I've,
Yep.
given some manure to this bed and I've planted this bed. I've sort of explained the other day why I plant red lettuces in winter. And that's only because in winter there's a lot less sun and a red lettuce takes up the heat more, so it will grow
There
faster.
you go. Yeah.
So things like that I share. At the moment, I am failing miserably on on doing sourdough bread. My third go. Had a big argument with my partner. He's like, "You're wasting so much flour. Why don't you just buy yeast and be done with it?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, this is about actually getting there and achieving and making it successful." And he still rolls his eyes and walks away. So yeah, it's all about my failures and my successes and the things I do with my food as well. So
Yeah.
tonight for dinner, the last of our tomatoes from the garden are being slow roasted so that we can have a yummy slow roasted tomato and bacon pasta. And of
Oh,
course, it
nice.
will have lots of yummy herbs from the garden as well, parsley and basil and yeah, and so I'll share recipes as well and do all
Oh,
that.
fantastic.
So
Fantastic. And you've got one
yeah,
more little, you've got another little burgeoning business coming up.
burgeoning, yes,
Yeah.
burgeoning, not
All things
burgeoning.
being mutual.
So because I've always been so passionate about what I do, I'm going to actually send that into a retail store. So my aim is to open an organic store here in Cambridge, and
Oh,
I've been working on it for the last 18 months.
yeah.
So it's not been something that I've just come along and decided on doing. It's taken me time to save the money and to really find the right place for opening that shop.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I've found the right shop now, and I'm just waiting for it to be all signed off and to be able to move forward.
Oh,
And for
fantastic.
me, it's more about boutique sort of more of a, I don't know how to explain it, but just it's not about dealing for the masses. It's
Yeah.
about people who have got the same values for me,
Yeah.
as well as being community minded.
Yeah.
And having fresh fruit and vegetables that even locals could come in and sell to me would be awesome. And that's the kind of idea behind it all. Is you've got 3 buckets of mandarins, but it's not likely you're going to eat them all. So what can you do with them? You can either share them or you can sell them.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the idea behind it, is that we start actually really knowing where our food comes from. And it's always been something that I've done. I've had food businesses before when I lived in Tauranga, and I used to make locally, I used to use locally grown herbs to make pestos and all those sorts of things. So it's definitely not the first time I've done this. It won't be the last, I doubt. But it is something I'm really passionate about, knowing where our food comes from.
Oh,
So
that's
knowing that it's healthy and safe for us to eat as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's and look, so many people are getting so much more aware of that stuff. So I'm sure that you'll have a very strong following. And I love the concept of the fact that, you know, like, yeah, if you are a local person and you have an abundant crop of something in season, that they can actually say, well, you know, I've got this, you know, and if you don't have that available, then of course you can purchase it to then sell on, and then they get some money for it, for their you
or
know,
credit to the shop, and they can actually spend it within the shop as well. So I mean, we've got to realize that not all our food comes out perfectly, and not all our food is, you know, brightly orange like a carrot. It could be different colors and things like that as well. And it's funny seeing kids.
We just pulled some carrots the other day, and they're all, you know, like they're two-pronged, or they've got an extra little buddy off the side and all these sorts of things. The kids were quite entertained by the fact that they weren't just, you know, a single carrot, like they would draw with the tufts on the end, like they would see coming out of the grocery store. So it's like, you know, actually it's a great education space for the children, and what a great time to share that with kids as well. Like,
absolutely.
You know, we actually have, I'm always the one that's like, you know, my daughter will say, oh, can I help chop veggies? And I'm like, look, I've left this to the last minute, and I really need to just get in and chop quick and get dinner done, because I've been distracted doing whatever else. And so I don't, and then so she's like, ugh, and goes off and gets in a huff about it and those sorts of things. But we now have the time, so it's like, we've got time. We'll start dinner now. Do you want to come chop veggies? Inevitably she'll go, no, I'm not interested. but there's those opportunities, and we're making those spaces. We've got these lovely seed crackers that we make that she's been bugging me to make, so that's on the agenda tomorrow. That we'll make some seed crackers tomorrow. So yeah, but it's about involving and just using this time to follow those passions, and you know, get out in the, nothing better than being out in the garden and turning your garden over and getting it ready for the next crops. You know, if you haven't had the chance to do that, go do it now.
It's beautiful weather for it. I mean, we need all the vitamin D that we can get while we go into the winter months. And you also need all the fresh greens that you can get. And there's a reason why we have seasons, because for each season the food comes along. You know, they're actually the foods that we need to eat at that right time. So if you look at it from that point of view as well, you know, we don't appreciate the fact that, you know, even cucumbers, they're available all year round. Well, we don't really need cucumbers in winter because we don't eat a lot of salads generally either. So it's all that really nourishing food that we want. All the root vegetables come through, and all the greens that we need. Just knowing even the seasons for those are not something that's a normal exercise for kids these days.
We got out of that. Like, we lived over in London for 6 years, and in London, whatever you want is available all season, because they don't grow anything in London, so everything comes from
exactly.
so you completely lose track of the seasons. And I grew up in a family where, you know, we had a 1/4 acre section, and the back third of it was all vegetable garden, and mum and dad tended that.
So that's what I did too.
So that's what I grew up with, and so we did eat by the seasons exactly. And I completely lost all concept of eating by the seasons for the 6 years that we were in London. And it wasn't until we then moved to Australia and I went, but I want broccoli and there isn't any.
And, or it's $10 a head.
Or it's ridiculous a head, and you're just like going, well, I'm not paying that. So you know, it was then that I realized, I'm like, actually, you know what, we have to go back to eating in season to manage our budget, and eat the things
absolutely.
You know, so like, I've been hanging out for I love Granny Smith apples, and they're finally coming through now, and I'm just like, I'm just been hanging out for green apples. So I just love that crispy crunch of a green apple. So
and they're not so sweet either. I like them as well. I love Golden Delicious for the same reason. You know, they're just not that, they're not as sweet as what we used to. And we had a big argument in our family about red apples versus green apples. And how, you know, they refused to eat the green apples because they weren't as sweet. It just, you know, things like that, to me, I'm just like
so it's interesting, isn't it, that like this time that we've been given right now is just really, really lovely for us to actually take that time to step back and sit down and rest and breathe and refocus on what's really important. And I'm hoping that through this time that people really take notice of the things that they've really enjoyed. I'm taking notice of the fact that my most troublesome child going to sleep. My kids all sleep really well, but I've got one child that really struggles going to sleep, and he's also my child that even if there was a rocket underneath him, I don't think he would move any faster. And so I am constantly in our normal life chasing. Come on, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do the other. But when it comes to bed, he's so charged up from all of this that I've been giving him all day. He then needs me to unwind him and get him down to sleep. And I've been noticing the last 5, 6, 7 nights, he's my best sleeper. He's straight off to sleep. And I'm just like,
yeah, he's not feeling so pressured.
The environment that I place him in our normal life, even though I do work from home, that school still starts at 8:30 for him, regardless of what he wants to do or not. So he does require some, but some sort of encouragement to get things done within a timely fashion to get to where he needs to be. But maybe I need to back off a bit and actually understand that he needs to do things in his own time. Mind you, it doesn't, there's a lot of challenges for me as a human being around that. But it's something that I'm noticing, that actually he's managing a lot better as a human being for himself with his own things. If I'm not chasing him with a whip, trying to get him to do things. And I notice now when just, can you please clean up that mess over there that's been there for 3 days that I've walked past, and I'm, but then, and he still doesn't. so yeah, but there's things that you can learn and take away from this time where, and I'm just hoping that people will take those things, myself included, into our new normal when that new normal comes back. That that we hold on to those things that we've recognized are good for us, and good for our family, and we don't go back to the things that we were using as a crutch, or yes, by all means go back to buying some takeaway every now and again to support those services, but remember how much fun you had cooking and how nutritious the meals were and how much you enjoy the whole process of that,
or how much better they tasted.
That's why we wouldn't eat out, because I'd always be disappointed. I'm like, well, that was okay, but I'm not a big foodie. I'm not a big gourmet person. I'm happy with I'm happy with just the basics. So for me, it's like, actually I'd much far rather have a home cooked meal. So yeah, but that's it's really lovely to hear your story and how they, your values extend over so many different areas, and that you do bring in what's important to you, not only into your professional business, but into your gardening and your burgeoning business here of your organic store that you're looking at opening really soon. So it's really, really cool to hear how you're doing it, and how are you coping with people under your feet when you work from home and all of those sorts of things. Are you finding that balance?
No.
Green brain.
No, look, it's always going to be a juggle. I have not got a magic solution for that one. I would love a magic solution. And if we had a nanny in our bubble, that would be awesome, but it's just not the case.
No.
For me, it's about, I've just had to say, well, okay, right now I've got to work. This is what I'm doing. I'll be with you by this time. And my biggest problem now is being consistent with that and actually following through, because it's very easy to get another phone call and another phone call and another phone call. And before you know, it's 5 o'clock and you've got to start dinner anyway, and you haven't actually spent any time with them. So, it is, and I've got a partner who's in essential services as a policeman anyway. So he's not always here. He's not here today. And he might not be here at night. So he'll be sleeping all through the day as well. So there's no easy answer to that one.
No easy answer.
I think the biggest thing that we've done for our family in general is Paul and I go for a walk by ourselves in the morning or in the evening, away from the kids. Gives us a break, gives us some space. We do yoga. I haven't done it today, and I notice it. Actually, I really notice it when I don't do it, but I've hurt my hand, so I can't actually, do downward dog or anything like that at the moment. And we also go for a bike ride as a family as well. Nice. And sometimes we do that separately, and sometimes we do it all together. And if we don't do those things, we all notice that. And so for us going back into normal life, the biggest question is how are we going to ensure that we're doing all that stuff still?
Yeah.
Because that's really what needs to happen, and that's what we needed in our lives in the first place. You know, we started it as a boredom thing, but in actual fact, we're healthier for it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're so used to sitting on
Important,
our
isn't it?
on our backsides all day working.
Yeah.
So how do we now bring that back in? And that's actually one of the questions that I've been asking myself for the last few days. When this is all over and done with, how am I actually going to manage to continue doing what I'm doing now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great unanswered
Don't know.
question.
I have no answer
Maybe,
for that one either.
no, maybe
So,
we'll
but I
catch
think,
up post all of this.
yeah, exactly.
And do it again.
But I
And
just
go,
think, you know,
so
that's,
how does life look now?
well, I know. And that's what I'm thinking, you know, the things that I've done for myself to look after myself during this time has actually benefited me. I'm hoping for a skinnier me, but, you know, that might not happen either. But in general, you know, it is better for me. I'm a lot less stressed. I've
Yeah.
still got a workload that I've got to deal with, and I still deal with stressful situations in people's workplaces and all those sorts of things. But what I've found is that I'm happier and I'm better at doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot more energetic about all the other things that I'm doing as well.
That's
So
really cool.
that's my
really
biggest, I suppose, biggest aim for the next, you know, when we get out of this, how am I going to continue that? I don't really want to get up any earlier, but it might be the case.
Yeah. 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 No, I'm curious as well, because it's really nice. And I think certainly my husband, who works in an office generally, he's enjoying being able to break the day by, you know, whenever he's got a window in the middle of the day to actually just go, no, I need to go out and go for a walk and get some outside and some fresh air, because it's very different when you're not commuting into an office. You know, he parks and walks 5 or 10 minutes to work and things like that. So he gets a walk into work and out of work and things like that, whereas he's not getting that today. It's just it's run the gauntlet of the Lego to the desk at the table, as opposed to, you know, as opposed to anything else, and try not to spill your coffee. But but said in jest, you know, like, he has been enjoying just that, you know, that little bit more breathing space and freedom, to be able to fit in just moving his body and getting some fresh air and doing all of those sorts of things. I'm curious whether this is the opportunity that the world takes, or rather New Zealand takes, to just go, you know, why don't we just go to a 4-day working week and everyone has a 3-day weekend? Why not?
See, we've already implemented that in our business. None of my staff will work 5 days a week.
That's
so
awesome.
we have actually, that has been one of my goals, is even for myself, I only want to work 4 days a week. And so we've already implemented that. That is what we do. I start at the beginning of the week and have Wednesdays off.
Yeah.
I've got a team member that does Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I've got a team member that works Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays.
Awesome.
So as they slowly grow in their hours, they'll only ever do 4-day week.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's really fantastic. Look, Rebecca, I'm going to let you carry on.
I think it's the only way we can cope, to be honest, because there's so much going on and there's so much information, you know, drummed into you and banged at you, and all those sorts of things. You should be doing this and you should be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I think things just have to change.
Yeah, I think they do too. I think they do too. And why not take this opportunity where we've gone through extreme change to then change into something better on the way back out again? I think that'd be really fantastic.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Look, thank you so much for your time, Rebecca. It's been really, really lovely to chat with you. We're going to put all Rebecca's different handles that you can find her down in the comments. So if you'd like to have a chat to Rebecca about some HR stuff, if that's what you need, then please do contact her through her LivewireHR. But we'll also put her handles in there in terms of this on the socials for her Quarter Acre Kitchen, so that you can follow along there, and any of the other ones as well. That would be really terrific. And I'll let you go and get on with your day before you have another meeting and miss a window of opportunity to spend a little bit of time with your son. But thank you, Rebecca.
No, time for bike riding.
Oh, bike ride time. Awesome. Awesome. We'll go and do that. So because that is really important, that we make sure that we do ensure those things happen in a day. So that's really cool. Thanks for your time, Rebecca. It's been really great to have you here.